Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation. Because every house has to have a foundation, it was laid strongly on my heart to start this podcast with a daily series. I am using the book, The Bible in 52 Weeks, which you can buy for men or for women. I invite you to read along with me. Today we're in Exodus 16 through 18, and we come back in again upon a scene where the Israelites are complaining. Shocking! They are complaining here about the fact that they used to be swimming in meat. Their bowls were overflowing. They used to have so much food. And so Moses goes and talks to God, and God says, all right, I am going to rain bread from the sky. And he lays out a series of rules, and he says, I'm going to do this to test you and see how well you've listened to the rules that I put out for you. And here he's looking for the Israelites to honor the Sabbath. So he is telling Moses that he is going to rain manna every day to be picked up in the morning, but that the people have to only pick up what is good for them that day, because it's going to go moldy, it's going to be really bad, it's going to cause rot, it's probably going to cause disease or illness if they try to hoard it. So he's laying down the fact that this food that he's making available is perishable. It doesn't last forever. You aren't going to be greedy. You aren't going to store it up. You aren't going to save it. It's going to come the next day. And you've got to trust that it's going to come the next day. And also that on the sixth day, there will be twice as much provided, and that they are then supposed to gather for 2 days, because he's very serious about the Sabbath being a no work day, a day to honor him and to celebrate the fact that he rested and do that as well. So he also then provides them with meat, and they're definitely grumbling about meat. And so God says, awesome. For the first night, I'm gonna dump quail all over you, and you need to eat those up. And again, it is really important that none of it gets left until the morning. God is here about as averse to leftovers as my father-in-law was. This is strongly against leftovers. And of course, we have some folks that gather and try to take too much, and it rots. And then we see that on the seventh day of the week, we see people go out to gather more because it's been every day, and they're not honoring the Sabbath, and it doesn't go well. And God has to remind them that this is not what I commanded. You've got to honor the Sabbath. And this is something that we don't honor, quite frankly. We are struggling here in this time to really understand how to honor the Sabbath in our work-focused world, our need to constantly be doing something. We aren't honoring the Sabbath and the need for rest, for health. These chapters go on to look at Joseph fighting Amalek, and this is the story where Moses, as long as he holds up his hands in the air, the battle goes for Joshua. I think I just said Joseph, and I apologize. As long as Moses has his hands in the air, Joshua is winning, and when Moses, he gets tired and his hands start to fall, Amalek starts to win. And so Moses has to have people hold his hands in the air, and they overcome and when. One thing that stands out for me in the rest of this section for today is the witness of Moses and the plagues. So we see Jethro, his father-in-law, come back in this story. And Jethro was a really kind and just man. He is part of the Abraham family tree, so he's closely related. He was represented when we met him as a spiritual guy. He was a priest for the Midianites. This is not a priest for God. So he would have been somebody probably that would call himself spiritual more than religious when we talk about God. But Jethro was a good man, and he was kind and just to Moses. And here he has heard about the plagues and the wonders that were done, that Moses was used to perform, and all that has happened with the Israelites. And here he comes bringing Moses's wife and children back to him, who have gone home to Jethro. And he comes and he tells Moses that he is greatly moved, that witness meant something to him, and he is now believing on the God of the Israelites, Moses' God. And I think it's really beautiful to see. Here we have Moses, who has been unwilling. He's been an unwilling but also willing tool of God. He was willing to be used, but he also felt inadequate and was constantly arguing and pushing back. And in that inadequacy, he gets used for these huge miracles. And while he didn't move Pharaoh's heart, he didn't affect what he thought he was supposed to be doing these miracles for. In a very quiet way, here is his father-in-law, who is watching all of this, and his heart is moved. So it's a beautiful story about how we have to respond to what God is asking us to do, because we never know who we're meant to be affecting. So we don't know what seeds we're planting. We don't know who we are changing. And in this case, Jethro comes and he gives some really amazing insights to Moses that we can see ripple down here through how our American government was structured. He comes in and he's looking at Moses. Moses was trying to manage from a legal standpoint. He was trying to manage everybody, all of these Israelites. And of course, I think we said 600,000 of them. 600,000 men had left Egypt. So they're continuing to be fruitful and multiply. And just with the men, there's more, and women and children. This is a lot of people. And Moses is holding the law for everybody. He's the person that's responsible. I think we talk a lot about moms and a family being this person that's holding the schedule and holding all the rules and holding what bill needs to get paid and all of the logistics, and not sharing it out, and how burnt out you get and how you don't model health anymore. And Jethro looks at Moses and sees him holding on to the law and passing out minute, little tiny bits of information and advice to every single person who's coming to him. And he says, look, Moses, you can't do it this way. And he argues really here for personal responsibility amongst the Israelites. He is arguing that to Moses, you need to teach all of these people to hold the law within themselves, to learn it on their own, to understand God's boundaries and orders for your daily living, and really down to what is going to keep you healthy and alive and walking with God and in God's favor. All of these rules and laws, instead of him trying to hold on to that and then everybody relying on him to do that work, Jethro says these people have to take personal responsibility for knowing this information. And they need to solve small issues on their own by comparing what God has said against their dispute or what has happened. And he sets up this beautiful societal hierarchy of power and governance that starts at the personal, goes to the local, goes to the regional, and goes to more of a high-end universal governance where we each, I put this in a model of today, we each are responsible for internalizing these rules and nature's rules and laws we can see all around. We're responsible for comparing our behavior and what we're doing against that. We're responsible for knowing God's commandments for our lives and to balance that each and every day. When we hit a rough part, Jethro had set this up with Moses that there would be folks in the neighborhood that were responsible for settling larger disputes, and that there was a hierarchy so that only the really, really tough cases got to Moses. And in this way, people were taking on more of their individual responsibility, and Moses was still available to reach out to God and say, hey, we really need a tiebreaker here. We really need to understand what you want to do about this very difficult matter of theology or ways that people are treating one another. And this is something that we see in the United States and the way that the government was set up here, and we don't see it really anywhere else. I think it's a beautiful thing, and obviously I believe strongly in personal responsibility. It is critical for our spiritual health, our emotional health, and our physical health that we are taking personal responsibility and understanding how our body works, how we interact with other people, community health, health that interacts with our environment. We need to be taking personal responsibility to look at that every day before we start to look for outside influence, somebody else that can tell us what we should be doing. And more personal responsibility would keep us out of a lot of trouble. I pray this day and every other day that God is blessing you and that He inspires you to read along with me and to be learning and growing. And I pray that He brings you back to study along with me tomorrow. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Dawn Combs Really.